Hey everybody, Ash again here, and this is part 2 of my Last Days Seasons prep work video series, as I've now rolled basically a new warband for playing my Last Days Seasons campaign, and you've seen that yesterday. If you want to just go up in the cards, you can click up here, which will show up, and you can watch me basically procedurally generate a warband and a refuge in a group to play through the campaign with. Today, I'm going to actually start putting it together, so yeah, I've assembled a massive pile of bits and pieces of just like zombie apocalypse stuff. And I'm just gonna hang out with you guys and basically go through each of the characters. I'll probably just do 1 or 2 characters and then do the rest off camera. But you can get an idea of like where you can get some parts from and just start hacking and sawing and build some of my miniatures for the campaign. So I hope you enjoy this. Let's sit down and throw some miniatures together and get this going. All right, so welcome to the absolute horror show that is my miniature building process. Random characters. I have a leader. He has booze, a club, a surplus SMG. I have a farmer with booze, a heavy blade, a hunting bow, and that's it. 2 dogs, both of which have stutters for some reason. I think I might make them Jack Russells because then it's just like their weird yappy bark. I got a cop with booze, a knife, and a hunting rifle, and then a farmer with a hunting rifle and a heavy blade. So what I did was I basically just grabbed a whole bunch of modern miniatures that I've had in boxes, a whole bunch of accessories, so stuff from like the Apocalypse Survivors box, the old War Games Factory box. What else? Some like trumpeter, like 1/35th scale G35s. I think these are actually War Games Factory Vikings, but it has like bows and arrows and stuff on it. So I was like, an axes. This is kind of perfect. My like hassle-free bits box. Tons of stuff from Wild and Streets, and like just kind of started diving in there and feeling what I wanted to do. I found I have extras of all of the prisoners from what's it called, The Walking Dead, and they are perfect because I'm gonna make these 2 into Squirrely Dan and Derry. I'm pretty excited about this actually. I'm gonna do some stuff to convert these prison jumpsuits into just work coveralls. And make 2 of the Letterkenny fellas. and then I've got a really awesome straight edge gang dude from Wild in the Streets, and I'm making my leader. And then I'm not sure I'm gonna use for the cop yet. I'm still kind of digging for that. But there are a pile of awesome miniatures here from all kinds of manufacturers, and I'm gonna kind of look through and figure out what I want to do. But yeah, no, that's the whole design process here was just like, let's make something random and then have fun trying to build it. So I'm actually going to start with the 2 farmers because I think they're relatively straightforward. And I'm gonna turn these prison jumpsuits into work coveralls. So this big bearded fellow, I think his name's Axel in the comics. He's gonna be my Squirrely Dan. And what I need to do here is I'm gonna clean them up and then give them the appropriate stuff. So Squirrely Dan has, actually we're gonna make Squirrely, oh no, because you've already got the rifle. So yeah, I guess Derry's gonna have the rifle and Squirrely Dan's gonna have the bow, which doesn't make a ton of sense, but we'll deal with that when we come. So I'm gonna take this pistol off his belt. I'm gonna leave. Actually, I think I'm just gonna take the belt off completely. I might just take the belt off completely. Clean off all the mold lines. And if you don't get the joke, so there's a little like Canadian version of Netflix called Crave TV that picked up this guy named Jared Kiso's like web series that was called Letterkenny, and I gotta go back further than this, I guess. So when I was living in the States, Netflix picked up another small Canadian show. They've been around forever. It was a late night show on I think it was Bravo originally. It's a Canadian network called Bravo, which was about rural Nova Scotian trailer park culture. And it was called Trailer Park Boys, and it was super popular and frighteningly accurate in some cases as to what in the trailer park's life was like. And it was really, really popular. And so when it hit Netflix in the US, I was like the Canadian guy living in the US, and all my American friends wanted to talk to me about, is this how it really is? Is it really like this? And yeah, it kind of is. I mean, it's horrifyingly exaggerated, but it's also not entirely without basis. And so now Letterkenny is like the new version of that, basically. All right, Squirrely Dan, you're looking good. But Letterkenny takes place in a rural Ontario town called Letterkenny of like 5,000 people. And it basically chronicles the lives of the Hicks, the Skids, and the Native kids, and like what they get up to basically. And it's pretty well intentioned. It's got a lot of layers if you're Canadian. If you're not Canadian, it's probably just slapstick and you probably won't get a lot of the jokes. But it's really well done. Jared Kiso is the guy who's in 19-2, I think it's called. It was pretty popular on HBO for a while. There's Canadian, Montreal-based cop drama. So I'm going to shave down the pants on these guys because I'm going to put them in what I just call big green barn boots. I don't think they have a name really. I just call them barn boots. they're big like felt lined rain boots that are really popular in agricultural circles in Canada because they're like 100% waterproof, but they're not. They won't freeze your feet. So they're not Wellingtons, which is I guess what you'd call them probably somewhere else, which is just like a rubber boot. They're a rubber boot that has a big heavy felt liner, which means you can pretty much wear them year round, and often do. And those big green barn boots were a big part of my life growing up. I've had several pairs. My dad, I think, has been wearing the same pair probably for like the last 15 years and has gone through about 100 pairs in his life. So I'm going to basically just cut down these right here, and I'm going to get some putty, and I'm going to build them back up so they actually have like a cuff, and it looks like these are tucked in. And then, so Squirrely Dan, there's 3 characters basically. There's 4 characters. There's Wayne, who's like basically the leader of this like group of like of local farm kids, who I wish I could find a decent miniature for, because I could probably do a pretty decent Wayne miniature for my leader, my everyday hero. Then there's his 2 best friends, which are Squirrely Dan, who's like the one farm kid, and then Derry, who's the other farm kid. And I somehow seem to have rolled up the Letterkenny group as my my group here. So I'm gonna get some putty. This is just 2-part epoxy putty. I can't remember what brand this is. I think it's just from Gale Force 9. Yeah, it's from Gale Force 9. I buy it in the big rolls because I go through it fast enough. Mix some up here, and we'll give this guy some rain boots. Now he's also not Squirrely Dan, who's actually a Canadian comedian, whose name I've completely forgotten right now. Actually has like a full head of hair too, so I'm gonna give him like a full. He's not balding like Axel here is, so we'll give him a full head of hair as well. And then he's armed with a bow and a heavy blade. Yeah, hunting bow and a heavy blade. So we'll have to figure that out too. And it's not quite as good as ice fishing in Quebec, but it's still pretty good. So I'm going to build these legs back up now into boots. And I'll even sound super Canadian there for a second when I say boot. And I need to grab my sculpting tool, which is an old dental tool, and just start pushing this around. I'm not the world's greatest sculptor, but I'm a pretty competent sculptor, just for doing like minor details and stuff. And it's just about being patient. So I'm going to rough this in and then go through and smooth it out again afterwards. I do really enjoy sculpting with putty. I realize that it's not fallen out of favor, but it's not the main way that miniatures get sculpted anymore. But I have a ton of respect for the people who have the patience to do it, because it's a doing things in layers and waiting for things to dry type of skill, and that requires a massive amount of patience. So just giving this a little bit, and I gotta get all the fingerprints off when I'm done. I'm building this up around the way. I need to put a little bit more putty in there just to do the back half on that boot. And then, no, it's gonna go all the way around. And you'll notice I usually have wooden sculpting tools. I'm just doing, I'm not spending a huge amount of time doing this. This is a Golden Demon. This is a gaming piece here, so I'm mostly just doing this to have a good time and have fun. So I'm not super worried about the amount of like perfection that I can get out of this. I mean, I'll still do a decent job of it, but I wouldn't use metal sculpting tools typically. This one's also got some stuff stuck to it, which is making it stick to the putty, which isn't very good. You notice I lick it every now and again, just to give the sculpting tool a bit of ability to not stick. Normally I have a bit of chapstick, And I'll put a bit of chapstick on my sculpting tool if I really need to make it not quite so sticky. But if you're going to use water, I find wooden sculpting tools work really well. And I'll often just cut them out of skewers and stuff, because the wood grain will absorb the water a little bit and keep it less sticky for longer. And these guys are going to have the big green farm boots. And there's one kind of roughed in. Now they don't really have, it's funny because they don't really have any distinguishing features. I had a pair once that had like a little tab at the back that you could pull them up with, but for the most part, they're just big green rubber boots. And they're kind of like they just go straight up in the air. And what's great is you can just, you can literally just step into them. You know what they look like? Actually, the closest thing I can give people who've never experienced the big green farm boot, an example of what they look like, is they look like fireman's boots. They're the same type of because fireman's boots are actually typically insulated for opposite reasons, in that you might be standing waist deep in water and you need to keep your feet warm, or you're just trying to keep the heat out. A little bit of insulation can keep a flash of heat from affecting you too badly. And there we go. So there's one just roughed in. I'll give that a bit. I can trim it and stuff. Once it's cured, I can trim it a bit with my my super sharp hobby knife if I want. But now his pants are tucked in. I'll do the other one. And you only have so much time to work with this putty right before it starts to cure. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do for leader yet. So I want to start with these farmers because I found like the perfect miniatures basically that were already wearing a coverall. Those are supposed to be prison jumpsuits. And that saved me like a bunch of perfect. And also it like completely fed into my theme. So thanks Ronnie and Mantic for, I mean, I guess thanks Skybound Entertainment, because these are canon characters from the prison days of The Walking Dead that just happen to line up perfectly with the characters from Letterkenny. But this was a fortuitous accident. And I find when you do things like this, when you randomly roll up a character or create something from random, and then you have to go and use that inspiration to go and find the thing you're looking for, you tend to stumble upon the perfect thing if you give it a little bit of time, or the close to perfect thing that you can then bring to what you want it to be with a little bit of conversion and work. All right, we got some barn boots on. Oh my God, I can't wait to go ice fishing in Quebec at some point during this campaign. I'm gonna make so many Letterkenny jokes. It's gonna be impossible not to, literally impossible. This guy's got a heavy blade, so I'm tempted to give him an axe. I think that's gonna work the best. Give him a big wood axe, and then put the bow and arrow on his back. There we go. So we roughed in another boot, and you can see that's pretty much cut in there. I might zoom this in a little bit, just to bring it a little bit closer for you guys. I think that might work better. There we go. As long as I keep to this area, you guys should be able to see pretty well. The problem is that I think the zoom on this little camera that I'm using for my above my head camera is digital and not optical. It might be optical. What is it? Does it say on the side? Might be an optical zoom. But if it's a digital zoom, it doesn't really do it. It's like zooming in with your cell phone camera. You don't really get a better picture. It just crops it basically. And everything's pixelated. But maybe it'll be slightly better. We'll see. And there we go. So boot number 2, basically done. I could get smoothed out a little bit in there. Where I joined the roll of putty together. It's a little bit rough. And yeah, so yeah, if you're ever wondering, don't handle my sculpting tools because they've been in my mouth a lot. As I'm with a chronic, or my brushes, I guess, either. But I tend to use them quite a bit. So, especially during flu season, I guess, don't handle any of my sculpting tools. But, I mean, when you watch anybody do anything in real life, it doesn't matter if it's this or painting or whatever, I could imagine what those painters go through, the people who paint, in real life, all the quirks that they have to explain to people basically. So there we go, our Wellingtons are done, our big farm boots are done. And then I found an axe. Actually, no, I should do his hair before I do anything else here. Oh no, but he's always got a ball cap on actually. That's what he always has. He always has a baseball cap on. So what I really need to do is give him a ball cap. I think, I have to Google it now. Because I think he's always wearing a ball cap. Let me see. Letterkenny. And that's actually even easier, really, just to put a ball cap on him. Yep, he's pretty much always wearing a ball cap. There we go. All right, well, that's easy then. The only hard thing about doing the ball cap's gonna be the brim, but I can deal with that when I get there. So, do I want to do the brim first? I think I have to, actually. Is there something I could use here for a brim? Not really. All right, well, we're gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way. Do an actual trucker cap with a brim. Well, that does solve the bald problem super fast. Let's put some putty on here. Careful not to touch our boots. As I say, boot in the most Canadian possible way. And bring that back. Oh, it stuck to my finger. There we go. Bring that back to there. Now, some people like to put a bit of super glue on whatever they're sculpting when they attach the putty. I've done that before. As long as you don't handle it too much, I've never really had a problem just sculpting details directly on. Once it cures, it's pretty much on there. The putty has a fairly adhesive quality. Oh geez, dropping things down. The brim of this, I'll probably have to shape with a hobby knife later on just to get it nice and flush and nice and thin. So I'm doing this fairly quickly. I can nudge it and make it a little bit nicer. But if we're gonna go straight trucker's cap, make it nice and flat. It really should be bent in like this, so this should be down turned to the sides. There we go. And then the peak actually should be fairly high. So I'll put a bit of this on top. So now luckily his head's already in there. But the thing with a trucker cap is it actually has like 4 peaks on the sides. So I'm gonna make sure it's nice and consistent on the edge. And so what I'm gonna do here is instead of like building it up, I'm gonna build it down over his ears. And then flat on the front. And then build it down again on the sides. And then build it down the back. And then just kind of shape it as I go. It's hard, you sometimes have to like really guess how much is enough putty when you're putting it down. But it's gotta have a flat top. And then a cavity at the back, there we go. And then make sure that it's just fairly consistent in being tight around his hair. Yeah, you can see the brim's not perfect, but it's supposed to look like an old hat anyway. And a lot of this I can like compensate for with just like some creative painting, basically. Giving it a fairly convincing paint job as opposed to like trying to get it all with the sculpting. But bring that peak up there. There we go. Smooth that. I think that's his ear right there. These PVC miniatures, the detail's not entirely crisp, so I'm kind of having to guess at what some of these hair details are, because I think one of those is actually supposed to be like the top of his ear. But that's okay. Again, interpretive painting will save the day. And now when I want a really fine line, I'll actually go in with a hobby knife and like etch in some lines. That's gonna be the brim of the hat going around, and actually this side of it will help me because it's a thinner line to just bring that up and make it nice and flat. And I think when I looked at the picture, there we go, so there's the clasp for the hat at the back now. And I can kind of poke that and make it flat because that's where the trucker cap holds itself together. And I can do like some seams because it should be like, I think 6 panels. I think it goes like this, like that, in a line. And then 2 more across the back, because it's like stitched together, right? And I want the back to be mesh, like a white mesh. And the front to be like the actual fabric stuff. And not too shabby. Again, we can interpretively paint this. And actually, while I have this knife in my hand, go along the top of the boot too, actually, and just sharpen up that line around the top of it. Make it nice and, oh geez, make it nice and sharp. The last time actually I sculpted like this, I think was actually when I sculpted the objectives. Because a lot of the last day's objectives that you see in my videos, I actually just made. Instead of like trying to like find like little duffel bags and stuff, I just went and made them instead. There we go, he's got like a little trucker cap now. And I think we'll just put a hard line across where the brim is. Just go around like that. Make sure that's attached like that. And then, yeah, that brim. The problem is, see, there's nothing underneath the brim, so I kind of either have to let it cure before I try and smooth it, or be really gentle when I do. But then I lose that nice peak, and the cap is folded at the sides. As you do, as you fold your brim. There's a flash pull. Do you roll the brim, or do you leave the brim perfectly flat? It's become very popular in recent days to leave the brim perfectly flat, and that's actually a throwback to the 90s when that was the case. Because you did not bend bend your Chicago Bulls or Oakland Raiders cap ever. That was left perfectly new. And the idea there being that it looked like it was just, you just stolen it basically, and that you gave no fucks. All right, so there we go. Trucker cap's done. We'll just put a hard line across there. It's as smooth as I'm gonna get it for now. So the brim looks finished. And then we gotta give him some guns. Like, he's literally just like fisticuffs right now. So I think we're gonna give him, a heavy blade and a bow. So, but I think both these are coming off this Viking sprue from War Games Illustrated. There's a nice axe here that just looks like it looks like just a regular wood axe, which heavy blade, that works fine. And then there's a quiver of arrows and a bow. And I think we're just gonna put those on him and call that job a good one. Give him this old hunting bow. Having a deep bits box of accessories can come in quite handy when it comes to writing your own games or making up your own warband games. I would say that if you're a fan of these type of like miniatures agnostic like warband games like the Osprey ones, then this is definitely it's not something I would recommend. Don't throw your bits out, because you'll find a use for them eventually. And these, I mean, this is like a mix of like historical bits and other bits and bobs too. So there we go. So there's my axle. And give him a bow. I think we're gonna put the bow and arrow on his back and just have him holding the axe, because that pose is pretty on point for holding an axe, I think. So I'm just gonna shave this down, and we'll have to shave it in the back so it's flat basically, so it has a nice connection point. I think what I'll have to do is, oh no, I could put it on his hip. Actually, that's an even better idea. Yeah, I'll put it on his hip, because he's wearing a belt, so that then this belt makes sense. It's not just like a random belt. Put that on his hip, and then maybe, where do I want to put the axe then? Oh, the bow could go on his hip too, actually, I guess. And like a case. And we need some super glue for this, as this is a PVC mini. So I'll use my favorite Guerrilla glue. Which is basically, again, it's basically old North American 90s GW super glue. So it's very comfy and familiar. All right, Squirrely Dan, you're getting some arrows. I think the bow is just gonna go to the same place, but what I might do is I might actually bend it a little bit so it looks unstrung. And just put it with it. That makes more sense. Oh, or I could just put it across his back like he's wearing it, because that's a very common thing, is if you've got a big giant bow like this, you could just be wearing it instead. And when I say wearing your bow, I mean like slinging it over your shoulders, using the string to hold on. You shouldn't do it, obviously. It's definitely something that I would not recommend. Don't wear your bow if you want the bowstring to last, but this guy doesn't maybe know that. And so he's just gonna wear it instead. It's a good way to pull pressure off your bow, because you're basically holding it slightly flexed. You're extending the arms of the bow for no reason. Yeah, we'll just put it on like he's wearing it. And I think, do I want the axe in this hand? Yeah, I think I'll put the axe in that hand. And I might just drill the hand out for that. I think that's what we're gonna do. We're not gonna try and pin this axe on, we're just gonna clean it. And then I'm gonna get a pin vise and to drill out the hand. And have that just like hanging out. Which I think is the best bet, because then it just looks like it's kind of like hanging off his shoulder. He's just kind of like Paul Bunyaning it. Yeah, I like that. I like that, it's gonna look good. Let's find an appropriately sized pin vise. Or even, you know what I'll do? Just to make it nice and tough, because if I do it this way, guaranteed I'm dollar stone, so I'm gonna break this. I'm gonna pin it, and again, this is a, people who don't recognize this pin vise, this is, again, an old GW pin vise from the 90s. So there you go, so I'm moving my bow here. And I really should have thought of and done all of this long before I started actually putting putty on here, because now I'm playing with fire, because I'm basically like handling this miniature way too much for the amount that I've done, but it's nice and soft. So there we go. I just shot the pin vise through his hand. Get in there with the knife and just clean that up, because every time I see like there's even like a bit of like just rogue plastic on that leg now, sticking to the putty. Yeah, I'm a maverick, man. I'm crazy. I'm a maniac. And I gotta try and do this without touching anything that I've already done. And just clean off all that flash. Yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna run a pin. So I'm gonna clean this axe off. I'm gonna cut the handle. And I'm gonna put pins on either side of it, and I'll put the pin through his hand. I think that's probably the easiest way to do this. So what I'll do is, where do I want it? But how far up do I want this, do I think? Got it running on a slight angle, so it looks like it's on his shoulder. So I think probably about there. So I want his hand to be taking up that space. Yeah, about there maybe. Yeah, so about 3/4 is what I want to take. Sorry, about halfway up, and then the 1/2 to 3/4 amount is probably what I want to take out. And then throw a pin vise in there, or a piece of pin in there. Oh, you know what? Don't even have to do that. I think I'm just going to taper this instead. So instead of using some paper clip to try and do this, I'm just going to taper the actual axe and put it in that pin vise hole. And when I say taper, I just mean basically shave it down pointy and put it in the hole I made with the pin vise. And that way I'm not worrying about trying to preserve too much. And this glue will fill basically the rest of it in. So there we go. So now that it's tapered, I can put that in there. Yeah, it worked perfectly. That worked perfectly. Angled back a little bit. Like that maybe? Yeah, like that. Just like he's got it sitting on his shoulder. And then I'll throw the handle, a bit of a taper. And I should have thought of this beforehand, because this is really short now, and so not as easy to actually clean, but it's okay. I should have just kept the whole thing in one piece, because then I would have had a longer handle basically to play with, and I could always cut it down later. But I pulled a measure once, cut twice kind of a thing. We'll just use the centerpiece actually, just because it's a little bit longer. Oh, ash. Because I'm freestyling this basically, there's no plan. So I'm making life harder than it should have been. I should have just kept that all in one piece and then tapered it. There we go. And this can just go on the bottom of where I've cut that now. Oh, come on. Find that hole. There we go. And he's got his axe. The squirreliest of Dans. I'm just going to shoot a little bit of extra glue in there, just to keep it nice and rock solid once it's dry. There we go. So there's Squirrely Dan with his axe. And once again, I've shaved off a piece of plastic and it's landed on that boot. And you guys can see he's basically got his bow, got his quiver full of arrows, got his heavy blade, got his trucker's cap and his Wellingtons. He's ready to rock and roll. So he's done. I want to dare you right now. Yeah, how's this putty feeling? This putty's still feeling pretty elastic. And actually, dairy doesn't need nearly as much work. It's mostly the boots. It's mostly the boots we have to do here. So I think I'm just gonna do dairy and then call this video done. And you guys can see the rest of this stuff on the interwebs. Oh, do I want to do dairy right now? I really want to do this guy. But I want to figure out, I want to give him a different head. I love all the Apocalypse Survivor heads that are on the frame here from this old War Games Factory thing. I don't think they're big enough though. His head's pretty melony. Yeah, they're a bit small. They're not as big as I'd want them to be. What else we got, Ash? Not much. I guess we're gonna have to sculpt some hair on here then if we want to do that. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll sculpt some hair on here. He's got a club. I gotta find a cool SMG. Now that's what these are best for. Because there are guns everywhere. Where's the other frame? The other frame has all the loose guns for the most part. Yeah, there we go. Loose guns and chainsaws and stuff. And there's one frame that's literally just nothing but guns. What do you want to call an SMG? Those are arms and SMGs. There's no just like SMGs on their own for the most part though. It's all, oh no, they're there, right there. Little scorpion. Little scorpion. Don't know how he found it. Don't know where it came from. But he's got his scorpion. Maybe we'll give him a little bag full of clips here. A little water bottle. And we'll sculpt him some hair. Now he needs a base. Any other cool bits on here? Backpacks? Oh, I want to give him a backpack. There's not enough backpack miniatures out there. Honestly, I don't know why. You get all these like Survivor type miniatures that are on the market right now, and they're getting ready to go to a rave. You know what I mean? Like, or like the club. They never, or like the office. They never look like they're ready to actually go and do anything. And you got to figure like after it all goes down, at some point, people put a backpack on and start going for a walk. Yeah, that's gonna work. A little straight style backpack. I just like the idea of the survivors like looking like they're, you know, living rough, because they should all be living rough at this point. Yeah, I like those. I'm gonna give them some hair and stuff, find them a base, just clean all this stuff off. And this is Wild in the Streets mini from the Strage Gang. Fantastic minis. I love all of Chris's sculpts. And what's funny is all these miniatures are people he knows too, which is great. So these are all like folks that are like usually something to do with punk culture, or like some type of like subculture that he's friends with. He does gangs with them for his game, and this guy's an awesome miniature. And let's find some 25 mil solid bases, because I think these are all 25s. Yep, that'll all match. With Squirrely Dan, as he sits there, Kieran. And we'll throw this in. I'll fill the base later. I just need to get something to stand on for while I'm sculpting. This is gonna fit in great with all my Kev White and Punk minis. Is that tab not open enough? Maybe not. Oh, it's got a bit of plastic at the end there. It's not quite wide enough. But these are normally, Chris's game, the Wild in the Street stuff is usually on 30 mil lip bases. This actually might not be wide enough. Nope, I don't think it is. I think the base tab's actually too big. He's done them nice and big so that they fit on these perfectly. Actually, it's too big for this one too. Oh well, then we're doing it this way. Hiya! The old-fashioned way. And we'll fill the base right now. So we'll clip these off. Get out of there. Oh, you know what I could do? I could put them on these War Games Factory bases. Because I'm pretty sure they're the right height, and I'm pretty sure they're 25 mil. Let's see, you the same size? Oh yeah, you're perfect. Oops, jeez, sorry Squirrely Dan. Did I break anything? Nope, you're fine. That works perfectly, how convenient. RIP War Games Factory, you were around for a long time. And I don't probably plan on doing any of these miniatures, but I love all the accessories that come in here, so we'll just clean you off and pin you on real fast. And then we'll figure out giving you a backpack and hair. And I think 2's enough for you guys watching me ramble. But you're getting the idea of like half the fun of this is just finding the right miniature, and even if it's not quite the right miniature, making it the right miniature. because there's something to be said for like letting the chips fall where they may. And that was kind of the whole point of this, right? Was I wanted to write an expansion for the game where you didn't know who the cast of characters was going to be, but you get to be like surprised and delighted, because I think that is half the fun along the way. So we're gonna do I give him the Wayne haircut? I mean, there are moments where Wayne wears a hoodie. And he does wear brown shoes. Maybe we'll do this. Maybe we'll just give him the Wayne. Maybe we'll give him the Wayne haircut, the Jared Kiso, and have this be Wayne. I think that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, he's the right size. Yeah, we could do it. All right, let's get this guy pinned down. Put that in there. Yeah, if you look up Jared Kiso on YouTube, most people I don't think will get this, but I think the best thing he's ever done was he did this whole series on the YouTube channel that he has. It's about hockey, like NHL players talking about hockey games after the fact, like basically like all of the locker room interviews that NHL players do, and just the crap that comes out of their mouths. That is just, it's complete nonsense. Like they say the same things over and over again. It doesn't mean anything. And yeah, and it's fantastic. I've probably never laughed harder. If you know anything about hockey, it is worth a watch. All right, we're gonna let you dry for a minute then. And we'll go back to cleaning off Derry here. Try and finish this up. So we have Wayne, Derry, and Squirrely Dan. Oh, these pants are a lot baggier at the bottom, so I'll taper them off. Cut all the pant off. And the hair is pretty much perfect, actually. The face and hair for Derry are pretty perfect. He's against another Canadian comedian. He hasn't been as nearly as much, actually. The guy that plays Squirrely Dan that I just sculpted, he actually hosted, I think, Just for Laughs in Montreal this past year. Or if not hosted, I think he might have hosted it, yeah. Because I remember seeing him do a whole bunch of stuff on Just for Laughs. Yeah, this year or last year. And he's a funny dude. They're all funny folks. All right, so that's gonna get cleaned off so we can have his cover all tucked in. And he's already got the rifle, so don't have to worry about that. The other things he's armed with are nothing, just booze. I just need to give him a beer can, I guess, or some poppers. Poppers would be the thing that they'd have in Letterkenny. It's like a cheap-ish hard liquor, cheap-ish whiskey. And just carve that down. And again, I'm lucky I have a second set of these prison characters from whatchamacallit, from Walking Dead, so I can cut these up no problem and still paint up my set for playing Walking Dead as well. It's the handy thing about having lots of bits. All right, Derry, let's get your boots sculpted. Because he doesn't need much else, actually. He just needs boots. Oh yeah, a knife, which I'm pretty sure I can find. Let's get this sculpting done though. While the putty is still fairly soft, I'm gonna put Wayne's backpack over there. Yeah, because Derry's got a rifle. That's funny. I rolled Adoration, Gullible, and Weepy. That kind of is Derry as well. And I could see Squirrely Dan being a spit talker. All right, wrap that putty around and get those big green farm boots going. And then back to chorin. Chorin being the terms used typically for doing chores, agriculturally speaking. Oh my, these big green farm boots. It's ironic them doing it in green putty as well. Makes me happy. All right, give that a bit of smoothing off, make sure it's all wrapped around and in contact. So now it's funny because in game terms, I have 2 farmers right now, and for the season's campaign, the one thing that it might be pretty fortuitous, because the one thing that you always need to do is feed everybody. So now unfortunately I'm in a police station, which means we're not in the farmhouse. We don't start with like a built-in a built-in garden or any place to grow food. But this, if I can get that built fairly quickly, having a farmer or 2 farmers means that hopefully after every game, one of them's not out of action and I can make extra food and be able to feed everybody. Because my group's not that big, although I do have 2 dogs, which I guess I really should paint as the, I think it's a shepherd, is the Letterkenny dog that you see burn on everything. I'm pretty sure it's a shepherd. Which I should definitely paint as the shepherds. I shouldn't really paint them as like anything else, because the mascot for Letterkenny is a dog, so it's appropriate I have 2 dogs. If I can find, I think it's not a shepherd, it's like a big, something like a bulldog that Wayne has. I should probably try and find it and see if I can find a miniature for that, but I didn't have one on hand. Dogs are fairly specific miniatures. I didn't have one on hand. All right, that big green farm gate's done. It should be tapered a little bit more though at the front there. Not the end of the world. And I can start on the next one. Give that a minute to settle actually, which means I find the putty after you put it on, it's had a minute to like, not harden, but at least get settled where it is. It tends to be a little more receptive to getting smooth. Getting all the fingerprint marks and random stuff out. And I usually do it just by doing like a circular motion with the sculpting tool. You can, if you push too much into the putty, the sculpting tool tends to stick, but if you just do like a gentle circular motion, you can kind of erase out all the stuff that you don't want. Let's do the other one. Put a little dairy here, and then I gotta find my knife to put on his. Maybe I'll put the knife in his hand, actually. Yeah, I think I'll put the knife in his hand. Oh, is that a mold line on the back there that I missed? It is. On the back of his arm. Get that cleaned off before I start sculpting anywhere around it. There's a little bit of loose plastic in there, too. And this gun is not the straightest thing in the world, but it's just the nature of the PVC. I'm not going to worry too much about it. As long as it doesn't break. It's obviously a rifle. It is equipped appropriately. Should be right there, probably about enough to wrap around and make another big farm boot. Make sure they're the same height at least, and I can always push the putty down. Yeah, that's pretty simple. But then I don't have a lot else. I have one cop who I'm not really sure how I'm gonna do him yet. So the 2 farmers, both of them are at least equipped fairly well, and having 2 dogs means I can probably do a lot of like leading the zombies around as well, which is good because they're noisy. So as long as I'm being fairly quiet with everybody, the dogs can do a lot of the like making the zombies get out of the way while I go and get stuff. That turned out well. Nice quick boot. But then I have a cop with a hunting rifle. So I have 2 hunting rifles, which is nice. I have some long range like pick folks off. I got 1 SMG, which means that I have 1 like up close rapid fire gun. So I'm pretty well equipped to take on zombies because I have like a bow and arrow too. I have a nice silent weapon. I'm less well equipped to like get in a firefight with dudes with machine guns. That will not go as well. That will not go as well at all, because the cop's the most accurate shooter. Everybody else is firearms 3. The cop is the one who's firearms 4. He's going to be the most accurate one. And even then, not that accurate. All right, let's see if I can find a nice knife. He's not wearing a belt. There's a knife right there. I'm tempted just to cut the hand off and put a new hand in. But these hands aren't nearly as big. Because the War Games Factory, the one thing about them is that they're fairly wee compared to like more heroic miniatures. that being said, I think... Oh, and I can also use this Molotov as booze. Just got the fire out of it and use it as booze. It should be funny. But no, I think I'm going to just give him the knife. If I do the backhand, if I can find... Because it'll just make it a little bit nicer. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. If I can find a right hand. Those are both left hands. Find me a right hand, come on. Nope. The right hands have machetes, which are really big knives. But I guess I could just cut them down. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's just cut them down. I'll cut his hand out. Oh, I got a base stuck to my hand. Weird. Cut that out completely. It'll just make it easier to keep nice. And then just cut this machete off at the wrist and put it in there. And Derry's ready to go. No, that's not the one. It's this one over here. Cut that off right at the wrist. Make sure it's nice and clean. And again, it's supposed to be a machete, but this is like, they're a bit smaller than 28 mil. Well, sorry. They're a bit smaller than 28 mil heroic, which is what the Walking Dead minis are. So this should just look fine as a knife. And we'll just glue it on. Again, I'm not too worried about pitting these. These aren't going to get transported anywhere. We'll just keep that the way it is. Whoa, that just fell. Come on, you. I have Zip Kicker somewhere, but I'm not going to be bothered with it right now. Oh, come on. Come on, do I want to use the putty trick? Oh, the putty trick. It's so bad, but it does work. Let's use the putty trick. This is an old, you shouldn't do it trick. Which is do pity punting. Do like a tiny dot of putty, wherever you're going to do. And this actually could get away with being like a color. Do like a cuff rather. Do a tiny dot of putty where you want to put something you're going to super glue. In heavier miniatures, like metal miniatures, putty pitting is bad because you're just creating a bad join, basically. But on this, I'm really not fussed about it. There we go. Just helps me keep the thing where it needs to be. And there's Derry. He's got his knife and his rifle, ready to rock and roll. He just wants to be loved. And that's Squirrely Dan and Derry. Are you dry now? You are, which means we give you a Wayne haircut. A Wayne haircut. You're wearing a hoodie. Wayne does wear a hoodie every now and again, but it's like his signature look, unfortunately, is I'm not gonna give him a Wayne haircut. I'm not gonna make him Wayne. If Wayne shows up, it's when I find a goon. Then I'll find an appropriate miniature because this is not Wayne enough. This will be somebody else. Who wears a hoodie in Letterkenny? Is it Joint Boy? There's so many great characters in that show. I think we're just gonna give him the hair. And we'll use this nice sharp knife just to give it some striations. And what I'll do is, instead of putting hair on the sides of his head, I'll just do a interpretive paint job and give him this stubble. A nice easy way to do hair. The not quite mohawk. Now I probably should have put a dot of super glue underneath this one because when you're doing putty to metal, it's not quite as good a join. But I think it's going to be okay. There you go, give him a little hair. And then I need to put some straps on him for a backpack. So, and it's nice. Apparently I made exactly the right amount of putty. Let's do that. Let's do some straps. And those are just going to go over the shoulders, and then I'll put the backpack on top of them. So just make some putty strips here, and they just need to go under his arm, basically. And actually, they'll help the backpack to adhere. So there's one. And, oh, come on now. There's two. Oh, geez. That one's a bit too skinny. I'm going to fold it over. There's two under there. Put these over his shoulder. I don't want to lose his hoodie, so I want it to kind of hang low. Grab this. And just have these sit on his shoulders, because because he knows how to wear a backpack. And then just disappear under his arms, basically. And here's another one, disappear under his arms. And we'll just have it crisscross at the top of the backpack. And just flatten down, they can just join up right there. I'm not too worried about them. And then what I want is, I think the backpack's probably going to cover it up, but if I was worried about it, I'd have it reappear under here and just connect. What I can probably actually do is just smush this over like that, just to give that illusion. And if I want to paint it in, I can. But it's not the end of the world if it doesn't. Just get that a hard line along the edges. Oops, he was not quite as dry as I thought he was on the base, but still not bad. That goes in, that goes in. And then have I already cleaned that up? I'm pretty sure I have. But let's just be sure. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's supposed to be like a grenade on here, but I think I'm just gonna paint it as a water bottle. Paint it as like a Nalgene. So I think I'm gonna take the top off of it like that and just leave that as like a Nalgene water bottle like hanging off the side. There you go, he's got like an old school style like straight edge backpack, just like right there. Yeah, that's gonna fit. And I will do a bit of super glue here because I'm not just gonna use this as a join. And that'll give it some stick. So now he's got a backpack, and I'm tempted just to put this underneath it as like the bottom of the backpack. Yeah, like that. That's gonna look good. But he doesn't need 2 water bottles, so I'm taking this one off. And what I'll do is I'll use this as like the thing that's holding on his SMG. Yeah, that'll look good. This is like a little clip bandolier. And that can just get glued in right there, underneath. A bit more of this. And then the SMG can just sit on the side like that, or I could have it in there. I think I'm gonna put it in that thing like a holster. Yeah, I'm just gonna take the top off of this, just sort of clip it out, and I'll have the end coming out the bottom. What did I do with my clippers? It's okay, we have like 17 sets of clippers over here. So clip it off there. Again, I'm not going to clip the other half in half because I don't know how much of it I want. And I should use plastic glue for this, so I'm just not going to bother. Again, we're freestyling this whole thing. And I have that sitting there like a little bandolier. Or like a little, not bandolier, case for it. Just like that. And when that's dry, I'll put a little bit of putty on it just to cover it up. Put that in the bottom. Have the ends just kind of slightly showing. Clip that a little bit flat. Oops, mind you. There we go. And have that coming at the bottom. Now I'll just fatten it out with some putty. So yeah, so it's just dogs and a cop after this. I have to figure out what I want to do with dogs and a cop. I'm not 100% sure yet. Dogs and a cop. I have 2 dog minis from Refuge that I'm like super tempted to use, but I'm not sure. All right, that's gonna get put right there. And we'll let that dry. And I'm gonna get a big piece of putty just to wrap around that side piece. And I think we'll call that done. So I can just fatten this out in a holster, just like that. Yeah, that's gonna look good. And that will blend it all together. Stay. There we go, Mr. Putty. I'll fix the other gun afterwards as well. That's gonna go around into there. That's just gonna get tucked into the back. And I'm pretty happy with this. I like this miniature a lot, actually. Not my conversion. I'm talking more about Chris's strategy game miniatures. Are all really cool. It's just cool to find miniatures that are like dressed in like everyday street clothes. Like he's just wearing a hoodie, right? Like that's super cool. I think I'm not even gonna bother having the little exposed piece at the bottom. Just have it sitting there. I think that looks good. Perfect. And there he is, Club and SMG. Cool backpack for carrying stuff. Put a little bit of glue back onto that foot where it came up. And there we go. We got a leader and 2 farmers. So an everyday hero and 2 farmers. So I'm going to take a picture of this right now so you guys can see. And I'll throw it up big as life. So you guys can see my work from today. Oh geez, didn't quite. It's very shadowy right now. That's okay. Nothing I can do about that. You can see. Whoa! There's my brief bit of work. You know what I can do? I can bounce some light. There we go. Let's try that again. If I bounce some light, here's a trick. If you ever need to get underlighting on stuff, try bouncing light with a white piece of paper. And that'll be a little bit better. Nah, it's because there's too much light coming off of other stuff. There we go. And you can see how I did today. So there's my quick and dirty, I guess like design and sculpting for 3 characters for my randomly generated Chaos Theory group. All right, so you have it. The first 2 characters for my group, basically ready to rock and roll. And I'm gonna do some painting. You'll be able to check that stuff out on my Facebook page and on Instagram, of course. I'll post that stuff up as I get it done. And then in about a week, you'll be able to see the first episode of my Last Day Seasons campaign where I highlight the solo rules. So the group's basically out on a scavenging mission the first day of the fall. And we'll see what they find, what they come across. And of course, if they manage to survive their encounters with zombies. So yeah, we'll see for that next week. And of course, stay tuned this weekend for On the Paint Table where you can see the models painted and ready to rock and roll, play some games. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to support the channel, of course, like and subscribe and hit the little bell below so you get notifications when I post future content. I do post stuff 7 days a week. If you want to support the channel further, you can, of course, buy a t-shirt through Spreadshirts, buy a measuring gauge or objective markers from Death Ray Designs, or, of course, most importantly, there is Patreon. Patreon is what makes all this possible, keeps the lights on, pays for the studio costs, pays for the equipment, model costs, and everything else, and most importantly, puts food in my kids' bellies and a roof over their heads. Big thanks to everyone, past, future, who supported me. I do this stuff because of you guys, and of course, I will continue doing it as long as I can.